Hi everybody, it's Jen. Welcome back to my channel, Hallmark Plus More, where we watch and talk about shows, movies, mysteries, Hallmark ornaments, and anything else that floats our boat. So today I'm going to be reviewing a Hallmark Christmas movie called Jingle Bell Run. It stars Andrew W. Walker and Ashley Williams. Before I get into the review, I just want to thank everybody who watches my videos and subscribes to my channel. I appreciate you so much, so thank you for that. So this starts out with Avery, played by Ashley. She is a second grade teacher, also a bookworm, so she knows a lot of random trivia, geography, things like that, which definitely help later on in the race. And then Wes, he is a recently retired hockey star from the team Blackbirds. And his agent, Cole, is trying to kind of keep him relevant in the news and the media, trying to find commercial ads. And there's this other celebrity athlete named Nash. And it seems like every time Wes wants to do a commercial, Nash beats him to it, right? So when he sees that he qualified for the Great Holiday Dash contest, which is this competition, he got excited because he's like, yes, this is something that I can do that maybe Nash isn't doing. And then it's comical because when he gets to the first taping, he sees Nash is going to be in the contest and in the show as well. So there's that little side story that's a little funny there. Competition between athletes. And Avery's sister Ruby actually signs her up for the contest. So Avery didn't even sign up herself. But Ruby encourages her to do it. Like I said, she is a teacher, so she's kind of like, I'm going to do it for my students. She goes to the gym, to kind of train a little bit before the airing of the show. And since her sister's a personal trainer, of course, and she has a little run-in with Wes on the treadmill. And of course, they don't know each other. They kind of just had their little disagreement and then go about their separate ways. And then they go to the first taping and they find out instead of individuals, this year they're shaking it up a little bit as reality TV does, and they're pairing them as teams, but they're pre-selected. So obviously Wes and Avery get teamed together. So, there's always already a little bit of friction there because, like I said, they kind of had that introduction or, meet at the gym that didn't really go well over the treadmill. So they kind of already don't like each other. So, that kind of sets it up for a fun competition. And again, the contest is called the Great Holiday Dash Contest. So kind of like I mentioned, it's like a Christmas amazing race. So they travel around the United States. They don't go out of the country. I know Amazing Race usually goes to different countries, but this one is just in the U.S. and they go through challenges and clues. And, they have to find their own transportation. So you find some teams, misread the clue, they go to a different state or they don't get there in time. So you gotta read the clue, get to the location, and then follow the challenge. So it's definitely interesting. I thought their team name was fun. They get jackets, like for the same team. So all the teams have these, Christmas team names, and theirs is called Slay What, which I thought was cute. The other teams that you see, there's like 10 or 12 teams, but there's only a couple that you kind of focus on. Brad and Ramon are Team Fabulous. Kate and Nash are eliminated, but Nash, like I was mentioning, he's in the contest too, but he does get eliminated after a couple challenges. And then Katie and Shirley, their team is called Jingle Bells. And like I say, the first couple challenges, you see Nash and you kind of see Wes. They're kind of competing against each other. But that doesn't last very long because, again, the focus of this movie is obviously the love story. So you have that side story with Nash. He gets eliminated. The first challenge is in Chicago, where the movie is based. It's a mailbox challenge where they have to head to town and crack walnuts. with the Nutcracker. So obviously Wes and Nash are both athletes, and you kind of see them like they look over at each other, and Nash is just cracking them. He's very strong. So obviously they win that challenge ahead of Wes. So he's just like, we have to get him. And then the second challenge, they go to Boston, and they actually, on the way to Boston in the airplane, I thought this was really funny. Avery and, Wes, they sit next to each other, obviously, because they're a team. And she starts trying to, kind of have, a friendship with them, and she starts talking in a Boston accent, and I just thought it was really funny. She's trying to bond with Wes and kind of, which was cute because you kind of saw that fun side of Avery. But they get to Boston, and the challenge is they have to kind of hit pucks into, like a snowman or, some kind of scene or animal, reindeer, and both of the partners have to do it. So obviously Wes, being a retired hockey player, he does great, but Avery has to hit one too. So it was kind of the same thing with Nash. Nash was teamed up with Carol, and Carol was a huge fan of Nash, so she was kind of fanning over him, even though she was his teammate. He hit the puck, but she didn't get it, and actually Nash and them were eliminated during that challenge. So it was kind of fun to watch them go back and forth, but you kind of knew they couldn't be the focus. So they get eliminated, and Wes kind of has a moment where he's teaching her how to kind of use the hockey stick and get the shot from the puck in. So that was kind of a touching moment where Avery was like, look, I'm not athletic, I can't do this. And Wes kind of encouraged her and kind of showed her, how to do it. So that was kind of nice to kind of see. You're starting to see a little bit of flirtation going on there as them trying to work out as a team. You kind of see, Wes encourage Avery, you can do this. However, Nash was kind of the bigger star, and the producers of the show were like, hey, Nash got eliminated. He was the big star. He was going to have this love interest with his fan, Carol, who was his partner. So now they kind of have to switch directions, right? Reality TV is all about drama, and it's pre-planned, even though it's called reality TV. So they kind of had to shift, and they asked Wes, they were like, hey, can you start flirting with Avery? Obviously, Russ didn't know that Nash was the big star, but the producers made it sound like you're the big star in the show. We need that drama. Can you kind of be flirtatious with Avery? But like I say, you kind of see that really Nash was the big star, but of course they didn't say that to Wes. So Wes is flattered, like, oh, I'm the big star on the show. Sure. He was a little hesitant, but the producers were like, it's nothing big. Just kind of flirt with her. She's your partner. It makes for good TV. Of course, drama, reality TV, of course. So he plays the part, and he kind of flirtatious, and they kind of work as a team. You see them bond. One of the nights in the hotel, Wes kind of opens up to Avery about his family, that his dad and his brother, they all played hockey, but he went pro and his brother didn't. So that created a little bit of distance and almost some conflict. Like Wes didn't go home as often because he felt like there was this tension between the brothers, even though he missed his nephews because his brother settled down and has two boys, and Wes obviously went pro, so he's traveling, doesn't really settle down. So he opened up a little bit to Avery, and then they go to the next challenge, which brings them to New York, and they have to do a window display of the 12 days of Christmas, and they get 3 French hens. And so they were kind of like lost. All the other teams went for decorations, and they were like, I don't know what to do. So I thought it was great what they did. They did a French theme, and it was very creative, and they worked together as a team to get it done. And the winner of the challenge was based off donations. People would look at all the window displays, and they would donate. Whoever got the most donations won the challenge. So they actually won the challenge. They didn't just do well. So that was really interesting. And then, every round a team gets eliminated. So they're down to about 6 teams or so. And then they head to Texas. And keep in mind, all these challenges, they don't tell you the state, it gives you a clue. So Avery is really quick with, okay, that means, well, I think they said Lone Star State. So most people know that's Texas. But some of the other clues, she's really quick, like, oh, that means this, that means this. So she's really contributed too. You feel like Wes is the brawn and she's the brain. So they're kind of like brains and brawn. They're the perfect team. So I kind of like that. You want to make sure when you're working as a team that you're contributing, whatever that is. Everybody has something to offer. You just got to find it. So it brings them to Texas, and they have a challenge of dancing, but they have to keep up with the music, slow dance, fast dance. So that was interesting too, because, they were a little nervous of dancing. And they didn't win that challenge, but, they kind of got close with the slow dancing. And of course, the producers loved it because they're asking him to kind of put on the charm for good TV. And then the next challenge took them to Santa Fe, Mexico. And again, she is really good with those clues. You know what I mean? She's a bookworm. She likes crossword puzzles, but she's also kind of has that trivia knowledge of random things because she loves to read. So I feel like they're a really good team. You also get to see the other 2 teams that I mentioned. They're still there. Brad and Ramon, Team Fabulous, and Kate and Shirley, Jingle Bells. A little background on them. So Brad and Ramon, I think it was Brad. Yeah. Yes, Brad and Ramon. You find out they both love to cook. So when you say, like, what are you going to do with the money? They kind of want to open up a restaurant or create their own cuisine. And so I kind of thought that was interesting. They kind of have a similar dream. So I think they were surprised about that too. Like, hey, we have something in common. Because you get close with your teammate when you're in this competition because you have to trust them. You have to lean on them, right? Like when you read the clue and West has no idea and she goes, it's Mexico, he's just going to have to go with it. You have to trust your partner. This isn't a game for one person, it's a game for a team. So I feel like, the other teams are getting close as well. Brad and Ramon are bonding over their love for food and wanting to start a restaurant. And then the other team of Katie and Shirley. So Shirley is an older lady. She has 4 children, and then she's teamed up with Katie, who is like a college kid. She's young, and they kind of butt heads at the beginning. Shirley's like, you can call me mom, and Katie was like, yeah, whatever, you know what I mean? And you find like over the competition they've bonded too, and they've relied on each other as you find out more about them. And then of course you find out more about Avery and Wes as well. You kind of know Wes's motives. Like I say, he's just kind of wanting to stay relevant, do something with his life now that he's not playing hockey. And you find out along the way, too, what Avery wants to do. So, like I said, she's a teacher. She's doing it for her students. But she's also, she has her own nonprofit. It's called Little Readers, and it is a program for kids to read in a stress-free environment. So this is her own project, you know what I mean, that she's trying to get funded and, advertising. So this is something close to her heart. She loves to read. That was a stress-free kind of a no judgment zone for her as a child, and she wants to give that back to other children because it was so important to her. So you can kind of see her motive. She didn't sign up for it. Like I mentioned, her sister signed her up, but she agreed because, this would really help that nonprofit. So it's kind of nice. You're seeing the other contestants, and you're seeing kind of what Avery would do with the money. And at this point, since there's only about 4 or 5 teams left, Avery's thinking, wow, we can do this. We can win it. She even said earlier, like, look, my job, my goal was to not look stupid and not get eliminated in the first round. But now, there's only a handful of us left. And now she's kind of getting excited and getting confident and, really depending on Wes to get through these challenges. And I like to see that team friendship build. And then, of course, in every Hallmark fashion, you kind of see that they're falling for each other. But the next challenge, like I was saying, was in Santa Fe, Mexico. So they're in Texas, right? So they have to go from Texas to Santa Fe, Mexico. Texas is huge, right? So she's driving to the airport. Wes falls asleep, telling you the trust thing. He's asleep, like Avery's got this. She goes to the wrong airport. So she gets there with plenty of time. Wes wakes up as they're pulling into the airport, and then they realize they're at the wrong airport. So they miss their flight. And they're like, okay, well, we missed the flight. We're at the wrong airport. We can at least get a rental car back and maybe drive there. So they go back to the rental office. It's gone. They've already given it away. So they missed their flight, went to the wrong airport, and now the car that they just rented and returned has been given away. So they're like, what are we going to do? So they actually hitchhike, which I thought was interesting, to Santa Fe. And when they get to Santa Fe, they're 5 hours overdue, right? They get there and nobody's there. So they're like, okay, well, I guess that means we're the last team and we get eliminated. And the host was like, no, you're actually the first team to arrive. And they were like, what do you mean? We were late. We missed our flight. We didn't even drive. We hitchhiked. Apparently a storm hit. And the storm was so bad, it yielded all the flights. So all the contestants were delayed at the airport. None of them actually made the plane. So if she did go to the right airport, she would have been delayed with everybody else. So it seems like, they were doomed to fail. They ran to get their car back. It was gone. And they ended up being the first ones there. So once they're in Santa Fe, one of the final challenges was hitting a piñata. And if you hit the piñata, hard enough, you got the clue. And the clue brings them back to Chicago. And that's the final, kind of like the final, the final test, the final challenge. So they started in Chicago. They went to all these different places, New York, Texas, Mexico. And now it's bringing them back to end the final challenge in where they all started, in Chicago. So I kind of like how they wrapped that up. However, as they're waiting for their flight, you're down to the final 3 teams. So this final challenge in Chicago just has the 3 teams that I've kind of gone over with you. You've got Brad and Ramon, Team Fabulous. You got Katie and Shirley, the older lady with the college student, or a younger lady, I guess I should say. And they're Jingle Bells. And then, of course, you have Avery and Wes, and their team is Slay What? So those are the final 3 teams. So while they're back, and I mentioned they kind of opened up, Avery and Wes kind of opened up personally. This is what I would do with the money. This is why I'm in the contest. Wes would say, I do miss my family. On Christmas, I always played Santa, and it was my favorite part. I loved playing Santa. So he gets this idea to play Santa with the other contestants. Because like I say, those other 2 teams, they've kind of grown close to, because on the plane, in the hotels while they're waiting for the next challenge, they've come close. So in a really sweet gesture, after dinner, their flight's the next day. They're all on the same flight. He gives everybody presents, which I thought was super sweet. He gives Brad and Ramon a cookbook, because they both love to cook. So he's like, hey, while we're still in this contest, maybe you two can, whip up some recipes or get some ideas off of each other. So I thought that was a nice gesture. And he gives Shirley a book about reindeer, because he said, she said her daughter's name was Katie, was Grace, and yes, her daughter's name was Grace. I apologize. I wanted to check my notes, and she loved reindeer. So Shirley was really touched by the book. Because it was a really nice gesture, but then she starts crying, and you find out her daughter actually passed away. So nobody knew that. And she thanks Wes for the book, like, look, my daughter would have loved it, but she's no longer with us. And so that was a little bit of a touching moment, and a kind of a surprise, because nobody knew that, And it was kind of a touching moment, like, I'm doing this for her. And then Katie as well. So gave her like a book, almost like a journal, because Katie wants to be in a play. Like she writes and kind of produces, and so Wes gave each person something very personal or very thoughtful to them. The cookbook for Brad and Ramon, the reindeer book for Shirley's daughter, which he thought she would love, and then you know, kind of a twist, you find out she's passed, which is a little sad, but still a touching moment. And then Katie getting the journal to write down her plays or ideas for a play, because that's her passion, is the theater. So I thought that was really sweet. And then he gives something to Avery as well. So, it was definitely a sweet moment for Wes. He said that was one of his favorite memories. And then he's like, I'm going to go buy stuff for the other contestants, because at the beginning of the contest, Wes was very like, they're not our friends, they're competitors. And Avery was like, they're our friends. You know what I mean? I know we're competing, but you don't have to be so rude to them. And so over the course of the movie, you can see Avery kind of softened Wes, and Wes got to see them as not just competitors, but friends. So that's what made that Santa moment so touching. Him being so standoffish and not wanting to open up and be nice to them. Because they're competing against one another, and then he does the Santa. So it was really a touching moment for his character, a turning moment to see that softer side. So then they go through this final challenge when they get home to Chicago, and it's a puzzle, right? And Avery is great at crossword puzzles, so she's like, we got this. They both have the same puzzle. They don't have to travel anywhere. They're standing in front of a board. They both have the same crossword puzzle. One has a blue pen, and one has a red pen, one has a green pen for Christmas. So they each had a Christmas color pen, and they had to figure out the clues. Once they figured out the clue, they had to do like one more thing, which was basically go to the wrapped presents outside in the square. They had a big tree and like big boxes of presents, and that's where the bell was. I might have mentioned at the beginning, the main goal in the whole contest was to go to all these different states, go through all these challenges, but in the end there was one silver bell and you had to ring it. Not both team members, just one. So as they're racing, Wes falls and kind of like sprains his ankle, and he's like, go. And Avery goes, finds the present, rings the bell, they win. Which is such a great moment, because they never thought they were going to win. I guess it's a Hallmark movie, you assume they're going to win, but it was still sweet to see that she's ringing the bell and they won. So the end is, the end of the show is they have this party, the Great Holiday Bash party. And, the contestants come back and family comes there, and, Wes sees his brother, and it was a touching moment because, there's that distance there. So that was sweet that his brother was there. And then what I loved, my favorite scene in the movie is the very end. I mentioned the Santa gifts, how Wes kind of got a present for everybody. Well, they asked them like, hey, what are you going to do with your winnings? Because it was $1 million prize, but since they were teams, they both got $1 million, which is awesome. So Avery kind of said, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to launch my after school program, Little Readers, pay off some student loans. And then she says, since Christmas is the season of giving, I'm going to start a memorial scholarship fund for Shirley's daughter called Grace T. Perkins. And it made, obviously it made Shirley cry because that was so emotional and so sweet. And then she said, and I'm going to donate to a playwright to finish her play, which obviously is Katie. And then she said, I'm investing in a new restaurant run by two close friends. Brad and Ramon have decided to start a restaurant together. So she won $1 million. She's going to start her program, pay off student loans, and then she's going to invest in a new restaurant for Brad and Ramon, invest in Katie so she can finish her playwright, and finish the play she's writing, and then a scholarship memorial fund for Shirley's daughter. So I thought that was so touching. And then they ask Wes, what are you going to do with your $1 million? And he says, I'm going to start a Chicago League hockey, a youth hockey league, and I'm going to become a coach. I'm going to teach the next generation. And then he goes, and I'm going to be making the same donations to our friends. So he even ends it with, ditto. I'm going to give money to my friends that I made along the way too, to the same thing, the same thing that Avery said. So it's definitely a touching, sweet moment at the end. I loved it. I am a huge Ashley Williams fan. I think she is amazing. I love her as an actress. I love how she takes on her characters. She's just so down to earth, and she just gets into all the characters and her expressions, the way she carries out emotion. She's just great. And Andrew Walker, huge fan. I love his films. He's great. So like I said, I'm a fan of both of them. They never disappoint. Having them together in this movie, I knew was going to be a great hit. I love games, board games, card games, any kind of games. So I knew it was going to be great. I don't watch a lot of reality TV. I don't watch The Amazing Race, even though I kind of saw this was like a Christmas themed Amazing Race, so to speak. I still liked how everything got put together. And there's also a little bit of drama, when Avery finds out that he was faking the romance, and then he finds out that he wasn't, and they really do have feelings for each other. So you always have that drama. But for the Gen rating, I always like to say what I love and didn't love, if I believe the characters and my overall feels. So I definitely believe the characters. Like I said, I love Andrew. I love Ashley. I thought they did a great job. I really love the concept of the movie because it was a little different, having them travel in a competition. So for this movie, my Gen rating, I can't really find anything I disliked about the movie. I even like the drama because I feel like that's real reality TV, right? You see these reality TVs, it's not all real. There's stuff that happens. So when you saw the producer go, we lost our big star Nash. Well, I'm going to tell Wes he's our big star. And I feel like that's the way producers and stuff do reality shows. They lie. He's not the big star. They lost the big star, but they have to make a good reality TV. So I think everything was realistic in that. So for this particular movie, my Gen rating, I am actually going to give it 5 gold crowns. I thought it was a great movie. I loved how everything flowed. I loved how he played Santa. I loved how Avery gave back to each friend or competitor she had. So I really, great feels, you feel good about the movie. You just want to give back. After you watch this movie, you want to go give back too. It made you feel good. So I hope you enjoyed my review. I hope you enjoyed the movie. If you didn't, definitely go see it. It's great. Wonderful acting. Until the next review, bye.